Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst, the most accurate mock drafter in the world. All right, so let's get into some more draft theory. If you check in the description box below, there's a few videos linked there as far as some draft theory that I went into in the past, like drafting from positions of strength in the draft. Then another one was how one draft mistake leads to another. So I thought it's time to get into another bit of draft theory. And one topic that I really wanted to get into that is kind of thrown into the spotlight a little bit from this past draft is giving up multiple first round picks for a player. I've felt that it's a mistake for teams to give multiple first round picks for a player unless it's an elite quarterback. But that's kind of a belief I've had, so I thought, well, let's do the research on it. Let's look into these trades. Let's look into how they worked out. And am I correct in that kind of hypothesis there? So, and I'm looking at recent times because I don't think it's really fair to compare older eras. So, I kind of excluded like the Buccaneers giving up 2 first round picks for Keyshawn Johnson. That was like 25 years ago or something. So, I'm looking more over the past decade. And I think that when you compare kind of different eras of football, you can run into problems. For example, there's so many rule changes now. What would Jerry Rice do in today's NFL when there's much more strict rules on cornerbacks in terms of pass interference? There's also a 17th game. How would that impact the stats? And so I think you can just kind of talk yourself in circles when you try and throw in too far back of references for kind of modern times in a way. So let's look at some of the trades in recent years. So I'm talking like Khalil Mack, Laramie Tunsil, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, because we just had the Jaguars trade multiple first-round picks in order to get Travis Hunter. So obviously, too early to make any judgment there. Hunter hasn't played a snap yet in the NFL. You don't know what the Browns are going to turn into with that first-round pick next year as well. So just obviously way too early to make any judgments there. But let's look at the trades. Let's kind of take it as the trades that did not work out well, because I don't think, as I said, I don't think it's generally a good idea. So Khalil Mack, Raiders trade Khalil Mack for 2 first-round picks. And Khalil Mack with Chicago, they go to the playoffs, but they lose with Mitch Trubisky, and Khalil Mack never, kind of pushes the Bears over the hump there in the NFC. So it really didn't work out from the Bears' perspective. Interestingly, they did get a 2 back from Las Vegas, which they turned into Cole Kmet, who's a solid NFL tight end. But what did the Raiders do with those picks? They turned it into Josh Jacobs, very good NFL running back. They should have re-signed. And then Damon Arnett, who is a talented cornerback, but the off-the-field problems ruined his career. So it really wasn't a great trade for either team overall, but definitely Khalil Mack was not the dominator and kind of the final piece of the puzzle that the Bears thought he was going to be when GM Ryan Pace made that trade. So that one, I would say, didn't work out. Now let's look at the Dolphins. They trade Laramie Tunsil to the Texans, and obviously Tunsil helped the Texans initially getting into the postseason, protecting Deshaun Watson, but then Bill O'Brien blew that whole situation up in Houston and turned it into an absolute dumpster fire. And now the Tunsil was there for the rebound with C.J. Stroud, and now they dealt him for day 2 picks to Washington. So he's been a solid player, but kind of mixed results for the Texans. Did they get 2 first-round pick value out of him? I'm not sure. But what did the Dolphins do? They turned it into Noah Igbinoghene, the cornerback from Auburn, who was a bust for Miami, and then Jalen Waddle. That they ended up trading down with that pick. They were at 3rd overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. They trade down with San Francisco, who moved up for Trey Lance, and then Miami traded back up from 11 into to like pick 6 to take Waddle. So overall kind of mixed returns for Miami. Waddle's a good player. Igbinoghene was a bust for them. Tunsil was a solid player for Houston, but I don't know if you can say they really got true multiple first-round pick value in back for him. All right, so next one, we can stay in Houston, and let's hit on the Deshaun Watson trade. So the Texans got 3 first-rounders for Watson, and the Browns, obviously, were the team that did it. So terrible trade for the Browns, one of the worst in NFL history. Deshaun Watson has been a mega bust, disappointment, failure in Cleveland. And the Texans really turned those 3 first-round picks into a huge haul through some more wheeling and dealing in these drafts. But they got Kenyon Green at guard, who's a bit of a disappointment. I didn't like that pick at the time, taking a guard that high. Dameon Pierce, solid number 2 running back. They used a pick to move up for Will Anderson Jr., so that was obviously nicely done there by Houston. They got Tank Dell with one of these picks, from the wheeling and dealing. Then the final first rounder, they moved down and took Kamari Lassiter, who had a really nice rookie season for the Texans. And then they added some other guys, Jamal Hill and Caleb Bullock. So really, Houston did really well in the Deshaun Watson trade. Cleveland did terribly. All right, now we have Denver, Russell Wilson. They send 2 first-round picks to the Broncos the Broncos send 2 first-round picks to the Seahawks for Russell Wilson. They also send a bunch of veteran players, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. And then the Seahawks with the first-round pick, the first one, they get Charles Cross. They also had a second-rounder. They got Boyo Mafe. So that's a really nice bit of drafting there by John Schneider in Seattle. Charles Cross is a really good left tackle. Mafe is a good pass rusher. The Tyreek Smith was also a pick from that deal. And then the second first-rounder, they turn into Devin Witherspoon, who's a really good NFL cornerback, off to an excellent start through 2 seasons in his career. And then they also had a pick, their second-round pick, that they turned into Derek Hall, who really hasn't done much. But getting a franchise left tackle, getting a really good starting cornerback, and a good edge rusher, Seattle absolutely killed it in that trade for an aging, declining quarterback and Russell Wilson, whose ego creates problems in the locker room as well. So obviously Seattle that was a great deal for them. Terrible for Denver and general manager George Payton. And now let's move on to a couple other trades that I would say are kind of the ones that you could argue are good example for a trade to give away multiple first-round picks. But overall, we'll see. So Jalen Ramsey, Jaguars trading him to the Rams. And Jalen Ramsey helped the Rams win a Super Bowl, so obviously he had a nice solid run there in Los Angeles before they traded him away. The Jaguars turned those picks into K'Lavon Chaisson, who was a bust edge rusher, and then Travis Etienne, the running back out of Clemson, who had had a mixed career to this point, but probably not good enough value for a running back in the first round. So not great, poor drafting by the Jaguars there with those picks, you would have to say. And then the other good example where giving up multiple first-round picks, you could say, worked out was the Rams again in the Matthew Stafford trade, where they give up Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks to the Lions, and they get Matthew Stafford in Stafford's first season in Los Angeles. They win the Super Bowl. So you have to say it worked out. It's really, I think, if the Rams hadn't won that Super Bowl that first season with Stafford, that trade would look pretty bad, because the Lions absolutely killed it with what they got in return. They really turned that trade into the catalyst into them having one of the best offenses in the NFL. Because obviously Goff has turned into an elite quarterback in Detroit. If you look at the numbers over the past 2 years, he's in the top 5 in the NFL in passing in every category. And they win 15 games last year, almost get to the Super Bowl the year before for a franchise that had gone over 30 years without a playoff win. So the Goff part of it, excellent for Detroit. Then with the picks, they turn it into Jamison Williams, stud speed receiver, Josh Paschal, a solid defensive end, Jahmyr Gibbs, an elite running back who could become one of the best running back in the NFL as soon as this season or the year after. He's only played 2 years. And then they also turned it into Sam Laporta, really good tight end. So the Lions just had an amazing draft haul through this trade, which has turned into them turning the franchise around. So I would say that, that Stafford trade really is kind of the ideal of it working out well for both teams, where the Rams get over the hump with Stafford, win the Super Bowl, get Aaron Donald a ring before he's done. They obviously went all in with Von Miller that year, and they kind of had to pay the piper then for a year after that, which led to the Lions having that high pick, which was 6th overall, and they moved down from 6 in a trade with the Cardinals, who moved up for Paris Johnson. The Lions take Jahmyr Gibbs. They get a high second-round pick that they use for Sam Laporta. And then, of course, Jamison Williams and Paschal and Goff. And so great trade for Detroit, worked out for Los Angeles. So I would say overall, just with this whole breakdown here between Khalil Mack, Tunsil, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, I think my original hypothesis is true overall. I don't think it's a good idea for teams to give multiple first-round picks up for a single player. I think unless it's an elite quarterback, then I think that you have a better shot, because that guy's going to potentially pay off for many years to come. And even though, Stafford, like I said, they won the Super Bowl that first year, so it definitely is a success. But beyond that, you got a couple other playoff appearances for the Rams, and they're not done yet. They could go on a run again this year and be a Super Bowl contender again. So I think that trade is probably the best example of arguing that it can work out. But even the Ramsey one, even though they won with him, I don't think he was as dominant or as elite a cornerback as maybe the Rams thought they were getting it, because obviously a few years later they're trading him away for less than a first-round pick in return to Miami. So overall, I would say that it's a bad draft theory to give multiple first-round picks for a player. We'll see if Travis Hunter proves me wrong on that, and or is he going to be like some of these others, like Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, where those trades were terrible to give up multiple first-round picks for those players. So let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys disagree, but you can comment below. Thanks again for watching. I love all you guys. We love our readers at Walter Football. You can definitely check the links below for content we got going up. And, of course, Walt has also great merch in his in the merch store, and you can also check out his shows that are going up throughout the week. He's really getting us ready for fantasy football season, so I got to start hitting on some practice mock drafts here, but he's way ahead and will help you get ready to dominate your league. I play in leagues with Walt. His teams are every year in and year out. Very, very well done, drafted, well hit up on the waivers. He's tough to beat, so definitely check out his fantasy videos and whatnot. That'll get you ready for fantasy season. So you guys take care. Love all of you. I'll be back with you soon.